Towards the end of the 19th century, industry on Tyneside expanded at a phenomenal rate. You had thousands of workers and their families arriving from all over Britain onto Tyneside. So much so that the population of Newcastle and Gateshead increased by 20% in the last decade. In fact, the east end of the River Tyne from Scotswood to Tynemouth at this time was the most industrialised section of river in the world. So the water company were fighting an uphill battle to meet this ever-increasing demand. The solution was Catcliffe Reservoir. The A68 at that time was little more than a track, so there was no way that they could use that to bring in all the consumables that would need for the construction. So they built a narrow gauge railway from here 16 miles to West Woodburn Station. But then of course this is such a remote area, people couldn't commute here, so they in effect built a village here. They had 600 workers and in some cases their families. The husband worked on the site and the wife's responsibility was to act as a landlady to lodgers. After carrying out the trial borings and completing the village, the main items of construction for the reservoir really were carried out between 1895 and 1903. That was when the construction was really completed. The dam itself weighs 500,000 tonnes. It's 600 yards long, 90 foot high. The water in the reservoir is to a depth of 85 feet. The spillway, which is a magnificent piece of Victorian engineering, is 200 yards long. It is stepped to reduce the flow rate. When the reservoir is overflowing, it's a wonderful sight to observe the water flowing down the spillway because the depth of water across is constant. Evidence indeed after 120 years that they made a good job of it. One of the great construction features of the reservoir is the exit of the tunnel taking the water to the River Reed. This tunnel is a perfect example of over-engineering, available at the time due to the relatively low wages which men were paid. A modern structure would never allow for that level of elegance. The valve house has 4 valves. 2 control the rate of water which goes to the River Reed. The other 2 valves control the flow rate to Woodford Bridge, where it meets the distribution system from the other 5 reservoirs. The tiny church of St Francis, which lies about a mile to the south of the site here, had an enormous role to play in the lives of the men, women and children who lived here. Evidence of this can be found at Northumberland Archives at Woodhorn, and if you compare the births, deaths and marriages for the periods before the construction, the numbers for the 20-year period when there were over 70 baptisms, over 30 marriages and over 60 deaths. The commemorative window is in memory of the people who died during the construction. It was installed in 1903. It cost £70 and it was paid for by the workers. Accompanying the window is a brass tablet which lists the 63 people who died during the construction period. Very few industrial accidents. Most people died of natural causes. In 1904 work was finished and the site was stripped. Everything was auctioned off, but they left 2 houses. They left this one, which is number 11, and another detached property. A local historian and author, Beryl Charlton, came across the hut in the 1980s, approached the Northumberland National Park and the water company and asked them to save it, which they did. It cost $20,000 to refurbish it, and it is now a Grade 2 listed building and open to the general public on certain days in the summer. This story is a wonderful piece of history.